Hey everyone, welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we are going to map out the precise mechanics of a truly chilling paranormal escalation. We're going to break down and analyze the completely terrifying ordeal of two Oregon teenagers, Ethan and Jake. We'll be looking closely at how one seemingly harmless mistake out in the woods triggered a sequence of events that just completely unraveled their lives. So let's jump right into it.
But first, I've got a question for you. Would you read a forbidden name aloud? It's a simple question, right? But it hits on something so fundamental to what makes this case so fascinating. Human curiosity is kind of our biggest vulnerability when we're facing the unknown. Think about it. If you see a giant button that says "Do not push," part of you really wants to push it. You want to test the boundary. So as we map out this timeline today, keep that human instinct in your mind, because it is literally what sets this entire nightmare into motion.
All right, let's get right into Section 1, the Forgotten Woods Grave. This is where our inciting incident happens.
So, picture this. Ethan and Jake are exploring the really dense forest right behind Ethan's house, and they stumble across this cracked, old gravestone, totally hidden under a bunch of thick vines. It's completely out of place. There's no birth date, no loving epitaph, nothing like that. Just a single sentence carved right into the mossy stone. "Do not speak my name." I want you to just pause and consider the ominous weight of that command for a second. It isn't a friendly suggestion. It heavily implies that just the physical act of your vocal cords forming a specific word is enough to cause you actual harm.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the complete split in how the two boys react. Ethan instantly feels this deep, instinctive unease, like a biological red flag just screaming at him to back away. But Jake actually laughs. He thinks it's creepy, sure, but kind of in a fun, harmless way. So as they start to walk away, Jake jokingly reads the faded name out loud from the stone. And I mean, the environment reacts instantly. The second the name leaves his lips, this freezing wind sweeps through the forest. The curse is officially in motion. And well, that freezing wind was just the start. Let's move into Section 2, the 3:13 a.m. haunting. Because whatever Jake did, it didn't just scare them in the forest. It followed him home.
3:13. This exact time becomes the anchor for everything that follows. That very same night, Jake wakes up at exactly 3:13 a.m. At first, he has no idea why he's awake until he glances over at the corner of his bedroom. Just standing there is this shadowy figure. It's tall, incredibly thin, and perfectly motionless. Jake blinks, and poof, it just vanishes. When he tells Ethan about it the next morning, Ethan tries to rationalize it as just a bad nightmare. But as the pattern would soon prove, it wasn't a nightmare. It was a schedule. Because this wasn't a one-and-done kind of deal. It was a terrifying, rapid escalation. Look at how this maps out. Day 1, the name gets spoken. Night 1, the motionless figure shows up at 3:13 a.m. But then, on the following nights, things get audible. Every single night at exactly 3:13 a.m., Jake starts hearing these slow, heavy footsteps out in the hallway. And every night, they get just a little bit closer to his bedroom door. And what's so mechanically terrifying about this is the absolute isolation. Jake's parents are sleeping in the exact same house, right? But they hear absolutely nothing. This entity was targeting Jake, and only Jake. And this whole timeline peaks on the night Jake finally musters up the courage to open his bedroom door. He swings it open, looks out into the hallway, and it's completely empty. But the entity left him a receipt. Right there on the opposite wall, written in these stark black letters, are 3 words. "You called me." It's a direct confirmation. This isn't just some random ghost. This thing is actively responding to the very specific action Jake took out in the woods. Totally terrified by the writing on his wall, Jake immediately calls Ethan, which launches us into Section 3, an invitation accepted. The boys realize that just ignoring this problem is definitely not working. So, they make the brave, or honestly, maybe foolish decision to go back to the woods. But when they arrive at the grave, they find this incredibly gruesome scene. The grave, which was previously sealed shut, is now wide open. There's fresh dirt thrown all around the hole, clearly showing recent activity. And the absolute worst part? There is absolutely no coffin inside. The only thing left sitting there in the dirt is a single piece of paper. So the crucial point is clear. Whatever was buried beneath that warning stone is no longer in the ground. It has escaped into their world.
Ethan reaches down and picks up that piece of paper, his hands just shaking, and written on it is this phrase: "A name spoken is an invitation accepted." Think about that. This is the key to the entity's twisted logic. It perfectly lays out the supernatural rule of consent that they accidentally broke. In this lore, speaking the name isn't just poking the bear, it is a literal, binding invitation for this thing to cross over and enter your life.
And as you might guess, the entity didn't wait long to RSVP to that invitation. Almost immediately after reading the note, a low growl rumbles from behind the trees. And stepping out of the darkness is the creature itself. It's described as this pale figure with completely pitch-black eyes and a horrific, unnatural smile just stretched across its face. The boys do the only thing they can do. They run. I mean, they absolutely sprint blindly through the forest, branches violently scratching their faces, while this impossibly fast creature hunts them from behind. They barely make it to Ethan's house, scrambling inside and locking the doors to hide.
But here's the terrifying reality. Hiding doesn't break an invitation. That night, the two friends stay awake, just frozen in terror. And right on cue, at exactly 3:13 a.m., the power cuts out. It tracked them. Then the knocks start. These incredibly loud, echoing knocks ringing through the entire house. Ethan slowly creeps over to peek through the window, and there it is. The creature is standing outside in the pitch black, just smiling and waiting. It's a terrifying standoff that perfectly demonstrates how locked doors and physical barriers mean absolutely nothing to something you've already invited in.
All right, moving to Section 4, the Dark Legend Explained. After somehow surviving the night, the boys realize they are completely out of their depth here. So the next morning, they get help from a local historian to dig through old town records and figure out what exactly they are up against.
The historian uncovers the grim origin of all this. That grave? It belonged to a man who was accused of doing dark rituals over 100 years ago. And this brilliantly illustrates the actual mechanical rules of this urban legend. Step 1. Speak the forbidden name of the man. Step 2. Be hunted relentlessly by the resulting entity. Step 3. Well, this is the ultimate goal of the haunting. The victim has to take his place in the empty grave. It's a one-for-one exchange. Jake's life for the entity's freedom.
Armed with this knowledge, the historian takes immediate action. They head straight to the woods and perform a specific ritual to seal the grave once again. And you know what? For a while, it actually seems to have worked. The haunting completely stops, the boys slowly go back to their lives. Months go by, and everything is perfectly normal, which provided the boys, and frankly anyone looking at this case, a very compelling but false sense of security. Which brings us to our final part. Section 5, a chilling final message. The case that had supposedly been marked closed by the sealing ritual abruptly and violently reopens. So it's months later, right? Just a totally normal evening. Suddenly, Jake's phone lights up. He's got a text message from an unknown number. Now, first of all, who is texting from an unknown number at 3 in the morning anyway? It's never good news. The text itself is just 3 words long, but infinitely worse than the words is the attachment. It's a photo of Jake, fast asleep in his own bed, and it was clearly taken the night before. Those 3 words in the text message, they read, "I remember you." And when Jake looks closer at that photo of himself sleeping, his blood runs cold. Because standing right there, in the corner of his bedroom, just slightly out of focus, is that pale, smiling figure. It was literally right beside his bed. The sealing ritual didn't actually banish the entity at all. It only delayed it. Which leaves us with this final, incredibly unsettling thought to analyze. Jake spoke the name. He extended an invitation. But if a simple spoken word can invite them in, how do you ever uninvite them? Is an accepted invitation just permanent? Ethan and Jake's story strongly suggest that once you open that door to the unknown with your own voice, closing it again might actually be impossible. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and remember, sometimes it is definitely better to just leave forgotten things in the woods alone.